Afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Good to have you here. I'm just going to make sure if someone listening could just drop a line in the comment section just to make sure that it is working, and then we will crack on with a bit of an update of UKREiiF 2024. And there's lots to talk about. So I think there's a good 150, 200 turning up for this one, which is good. But then I believe it's also available to be shared afterwards, which is good. So you'll be able to pass it on to any of your colleagues and whatnot who might need to see it. There we go. Happy days. Right. In that case, I will crack on. So yeah, thank you for joining us. As I said, just a bit of an update of UKREiiF 2024, bit of an expansion. There's going to be, for those who have attended before, there might be a little bit of crossover with sort of understanding the site, but hopefully it'll make sense therefore for new people coming on board as well. So delegates, it's probably growing from about 7,500 who attended last year to about 10 to 12,000 on current projections, probably more towards that top end. So yeah, I'll kick off and go through it. And if you've got any questions, just keep putting them in the comments area, and I'll try and come back to some of them. This probably won't take an hour for me to whip through it. So yeah, hopefully there's plenty of time at the end for a few questions. So for those who don't know what UKREiiF is, so UKREiiF, it's all around bringing together those key players that form part of the regeneration and development world. So public and private sector in the UK is incredibly important. So it's about bringing local authorities together in government, the developers, the funders, the housing associations, the house builders, as well as the wider built environment industry. So your architects, your contractors, your consultant. Without everyone working together, we can't bring forward the type of regeneration that we would like to see. So it's all around bringing those key players together into one room. So the event launched in 2022. As you'll see from some of these photos, there's loads of different things that happen. For those that haven't been, there's panel discussions, as you would expect from a forum like this and an exhibition, but actually we try to go much further and try to mix up some of the content with, I think there was about 19, 20 stages last year, and there's a fair bit happening this year. So who does it attract? A few of the images there, but it's all about trying to bring those clients together. So if we're bringing together investors, developers, end users, local authorities, government, bringing everyone into one room, hopefully that attracts the rest of the built environment industry as well. And that's, I think, is why it's been quite a success. It's very much client-led. And that goes to show in the numbers as well. So 10% developers, 10% investors and funders of many different types, from impact investors to pension funds, local authorities in government. And it's not just sort of the same sort of areas as well. So yes, we might have Homes England from a government department, but we also have the Department for Transport. We have the Department for Education. We have the Department for Health. So it's bringing everyone together because our industry plays a crucial part in everything across the communities that we work, and then end users as well. So whether that be your supermarkets, your occupiers on the high street, all the way to a few from last year, Lockheed Martin from a space perspective. We have some of the big manufacturers. We have your Amazons. So yeah, a real big opportunity to meet some of those clients, and therefore that's the rest of the industry is there in attendance. Your agents, your media, your law firms, everyone in the industry is at the event. So bit of an overview of how the event's moved forward. So it started in 2022 with just under 4,000 delegates, and that quickly grew to 7,500 last year. This year we can see that going towards 12,000 official delegates, and then a fair few coming to the fringe events on the wider city. Obviously the economic impact of that is fantastic for the city region, and we're working on a subgroup with the combined authority, the council and private sector partners and Leeds bid in how we actually make sure that the city is not just well dressed, but actually making the most of it. And then that forms part of that social impact side as well. We work with Loop, the 55 group, to monitor the social value from the event. So for those that have been, this will be kind of the bit where you get some new info of what's growing on the site, where we're expanding it to. And I've tried to make it quite simple with design, so you can get a good idea of, for people who are new to the event, of what it looks like as well. So firstly, to highlight, there's a number of dockside pavilions. So there's 3 of these that we're bringing forward. These dockside pavilions have been taken by one of them is a pension fund, who we cannot confirm. Another one has been taken, but again, it was only last week, so we can't confirm. And there's one available, so one pavilion left. So from an entry point, just for the visuals, this is where people came into the event last year. So it's the top of the site, it's the entrance to the site. The site barriers have been pushed back to allow for more growth on that particular area of the site. And then when you walk past that, you come down into where the canal boats are based. So last year, this was the Scottish Government or Scottish Cities Alliance who took this. This year, it's Lavelle, the house builder, who've secured the canal barge where they'll run sort of certain events and meetings and the like. So we've expanded the event up towards, the key bit is up towards the top, where we've got pavilions on entry with a pension fund and a couple of others coming on board in that area. So the site has expanded there. Within the central area, so many would say that this is the sort of central area of the event, with everything else to the north, south, east, and west. This is, in the first few years, we had about 4 pavilions here, then that expanded again last year, and it has once again grown this year. So those that are highlighted in green are the new pavilions that have been taken on this site. And over the course of the next sort of 4 or 5 months, we will be doing different catch-ups on areas like this, where we go into detail of who's taken those spaces, because not everybody has confirmed them. What we can confirm is that 100% of pavilion partners have taken pavilions again, and all of those in green are therefore new partners. One of them on here is another government department, and one of them on here is another subdivision of government, but very much from an innovation perspective. And so more growth in that pavilion square we've managed to find somehow. And then up towards the pavilion zone, so particularly down here in this area, and yes, I see Jamie there promoting the UK BCSD side and the Bradford side, which they've been involved with for a few years now in the comments. So this area here, up towards the left-hand side, this is what we call our pavilion zone. And last year there was a number of pavilions in there, and we've managed to get real good growth on there as well. This area down the middle, in between where the 2 pavilions are, this was where all of our food and beverage was last year, and we heard the voices. We know we need more food and beverage as well this year, which we're managing to acquire. But also, this is a real growth area for us. So all of these new green boxes are effectively new pavilions or new zones that people have taken. Some are going to run content within them, as we did this year. Some of them are using them solely for a meeting zone. So one big supermarket chain who has expansion plans to grow and build another 150, 200 new stores in the UK. They've taken a space in here, and they'll be confirmed in due course, but they will be taking that for meetings effectively. So really good branding opportunities, but all of them have been sold to potential partners. So all of this is a growth area. There's new cities coming on board as well. So again, without revealing them all at the moment, because some of them haven't announced their actual presence, there's a much wider delegation coming from the east of England in these pavilions. There's a much wider delegation coming from the Midlands within these areas, and from the southeast and the south coast as well, and the southwest, who came last year with the LEP and Cornwall doing sort of bits here or there. I think it was a great southwest and the heart of southwest last year. So there's a bigger presence within these areas for those types of businesses. So more on those will be announced in due course. But all that space has been taken. And it therefore means that this is a kind of a nice way of showing it from a longer perspective. So I've turned it round to how you would have seen it this year. So you walked in and these blue ones were Lloyd's, Newcastle, Moda and Caddick, and a few of our own pavilions in this space. But all of this is new growth area that's been taken, which is fantastic news. On the opposite side of this, where some of these new ones are, there'll be a lot more food and beverage implemented here, as well as across the wider site as well, because this site last year had a lot of food and beverage within it. From an exhibition perspective, so it's pretty much the same as last year in terms of the new dock hall. That is going to be an exhibition hall. And then inside the Royal Armoury is where obviously we have a lot more stages and activity. So This picture is a couple of weeks old, so the sales team will give me a little slap on the wrist for not putting the most up-to-date one on here. But there's been a lot of sales. I think the new dock hall is more or less sold out, and there's a few spaces remaining on the bottom one, which is going to be in the Royal Armouries Hall. We've also added some SME stands available, so for micro businesses within there, which are at a reduced cost, and they're going to be at the entrance point of the Royal Armouries and the Royal Armouries Exhibition Hall, just bringing those opportunities forward for micro businesses to get involved and be involved in UKREiiF as the bigger organisations can be. Last year we had a D&I pavilion, which was outside, and we partnered with Mott MacDonald on that. It was kind of a 50-50 venture. They ran a lot of activity and we ran a load of activity. This year, that space outside has been taken by Prologis, the developer investor from a logistics perspective. And we have repositioned the D&I area inside the Royal Armouries into a much larger room to allow us to do much more. So Regeneration Brownery, if you don't know them, look them up. They're incredible. And they really help people get inspired about the industry and I think create that kind of something that instills in them that keeps them within the industry. And then their alumni who come back and support the younger people coming through are fantastic. But we're going to do a lot with Regeneration Brownery in that space and several partners with. Some of the comments last year were indoor networking space. So the museum has agreed to allow us to have a bit more room indoors in terms of there's a lot of museum items and artifacts within there. So one of the rooms is going to be removed to allow us to have the artifacts being removed to allow us to have a lot more indoor networking space. So I'm not sure if it is this room exactly, but imagine that as being an empty room with seating and chairs or whatever it might look like. So there is going to be a lot more indoor networking space, and it's something which we were highlighted as a desire from delegates. And facilitation sessions. So I think this is what we really do well at UKREiiF. So it's not around just putting people in a room and going, yeah, we've done our job. So I think sometimes when you go to events, there can be a desire you pay for space and it's all up to you to actually do the business development and the meetings. So what we do is facilitation sessions. So one of the ones I'd like to highlight is where we do it specifically for local authorities and their development partners to find potential investment, development, house builders, end users, occupiers wanting to come and invest in their region. So we run tailored facilitation sessions all the way through the event, which are usually behind closed doors. And that allows projects like this one to come forward, which was a good news story that we shared yesterday. We announced, or Torbay announced that Milligan and Wilmot Dixon were the successful development partners on the project. So we've worked with, we're working with many local authorities across the UK. This is a different strand to what UKREiiF does. We're working with Torbay to structure what that opportunity in Torbay looks like. We worked with them to bring selected development partners and investment partners in, and we brought that project forward hand in hand with them. They were incredible at Torbay, and we're doing this with a number of local authorities. But what we're trying to do is utilise our network to be a lot more than just an events business and make sure that we are seeing positive investment and regen in towns and cities across the UK. So Torbay is a perfect example of doing that. We've got kind of a subgroup called, we call it Recon. It's an internal consultancy with two former government advisors who've helped bring forward projects like Media City in Salford, and they're the ones that we work with to position those projects and help them come forward. So we should have a lot more success stories coming up from UKREiiF. And I think sometimes with events, you're not sure whether the deal is, from that event or if it's that continuous relationship that you keep building, as BD always is. And what we're doing here is showing 100%. This is sort of the deal that we've done. We worked with Torbay hand in hand. We brought it forward, much more than an event. We're trying to be a facilitator for investment and regen into regions, which is hopefully a very positive thing. Outside, so for those that haven't been, you will see hundreds of people outside the Canary Bar, which is taken by Manchester and London. So they do run certain activity from here, but this is their hub. This is where they run their meetings. This is where all of Manchester and London's activity goes on, as well as them being present across the wider programme at the event as well. So effectively, it's a shipping containers turned into a bar overlooking the water, beautiful little destination. And we've also secured a paddleboard company this year to be able to do fringe events on the water. So a couple of companies are working with us on those. So there's going to be 30 odd people at a time going out onto the water, paddleboarding on the canal. So yeah, it's a really cool thing to have included as we try to keep diversifying and keep creating new ways of networking, rather than it just being, here's a panel, or here's go into a room and network with people. We're trying to come up with more reasons to network in different ways. So the big growth area is the boulevard. So the boulevard at Leeds Dock is an area that during the day, if you went down today, is used as a bit of a community area for the people living there, for the businesses that work there as well. There's a lot of co-working that happens. And what we found is actually a lot of businesses we work with are down there already. So this is a real growth area. So you'll only be able to get into these areas if you are if you live in a local community, or if you're a UKREiiF delegate. So it's all going to be badged and ticketed down this area, which is new. Last year, you could walk up and down into these areas. So the areas that we've got exclusivity of include Pizza Express, which people can hire out a table for the day. Just get in contact with us if you want to do that. The North Star Cafe, that's been sponsored by a big framework provider in the UK, and they again will be hosting a lot of private activity in there. The Boulevard Studio is probably my favourite space at the event, although this one is still available to take from a sponsorship perspective. A beautiful sort of yoga studio. You may have been in there last year because there was a few fringe events in there, and some of the studio is still going to remain open for those activities, but the main area is going to turn into an area for someone to transform into what they want. So they can run receptions in there, they could do meetings, they could do panel discussions, they could do whatever they want in that space. So that's a really nice new area. And then there's department. So department on a normal day is a co-working space on levels 1, 2, and 3. So what we've done is taken the ground floor, and mixed-use developer Muse is working with us on managing a certain area of that called Ferns. They're going to do loads of activity for themselves in that space. The meeting rooms and roundtables and workshops, again, trying to diversify the content. We're trying to put sort of a reduction on so many panel discussions, and actually these rooms allow us to do a lot more private roundtable discussions to go really into niches. We've got a really, really good relationship with government at the moment and shadow government. And we've got a couple of them taking place in there where sort of ministers or shadow ministers are interested in hearing the voices of the industry on different topics, whether it be science, climate change, not just construction or house building, etc. So we've got a lot of activity on there. And then we've got loads of workshops as well and hackathons. So we're working with organisations doing great things from a youth perspective or next gen perspective to try to bring young people together alongside some more senior professionals in the industry and thrash out some key challenges that they have or that the industry has, and see what we can get back from an information perspective on those. So yeah, lots more happening there. Food and drink, my favourite, as you can tell by my stomach. Good old food and drink, lots of this for next year. So I think last year we had a fair bit, but the good old grilled cheese sandwich toasting machine, they ran out of bread by 1 p.m. on Tuesday. So although we had loads of choice along there, I think some of the feedback was let's have more space, let's have some healthier options as well. So we're working on all that. We've expanded the area at the top in blue. That area is expanded to the end of the road, whereas this year it only went halfway down. And then we've got to have more opposite the Canary Bar on the other side of the dock. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more food and beverage available this year, and a lot more choices as well for people to have. Perfect. Right. So getting to the venue. So what we've tried to do is we've actually set up a subgroup with what we call team leads, which is a council, combined authority, bid, and ourselves with private sector partners. And we're looking at how we can make the delegate experience even better, both on the journey up, in when they get to the station or however they travel to the event, and navigating their way around the city as well. So we're looking at the walking route of what activation can take place when that happens. But if you land in the train station, you'll be pushed towards a couple of walking routes. There'll be people greeting you, hopefully activation, music and the like on the way down to the venue. If you're walking, there's a water taxi, there's a shuttle bus, There's bikes which have just been added. Here we go, the good old Beryl bikes. They're new to Leeds, so they've only just come in after UKREiiF. So lots of options of how to get down to the venue. What we'll be doing is a lot more marketing comms ahead of the event to delegates to give them those sort of details of what they could do and how they can get down to the site. It's about a 10-minute walk from the train station. If you do happen to drive in, there's a car park right next to the venue, which is easy enough. But yeah, hopefully sustainable methods. If you come in on the train or alike, it's easy to get down. And this is really where the city centre is, in the north of the river. The south is being heavily developed at the moment, where the Royal Armouries is, but it's a really good way of kind of going from the event in an evening and moving back into the city to some more of the nightlife and fringe activity that takes place. And then that does take us to the fringe. So this is the good old activity that takes place around UKREiiF. Some of it is official events, and the majority of it is official events. And we would push everybody to look on our website and keep a lookout for all of that takes place. So there will be activity on the Monday night, so make sure you're there on the Monday. That activity is going to be the likes of Leeds Bid and Leeds City Council running an event, like a welcome to Leeds event in the Corn Exchange, which is this beautiful building on the left-hand side. But there's loads of other stuff as well. So, having a look at these photos, you've got drinks receptions at the highest points of the city. You've got morning runs and yoga, and as I mentioned earlier, you've got the waterboarding. You have sort of cutaways. Avison Young did one last year in a cinema, where you got Gary Neville here that's doing a fringe event, which was in the walls of UKREiiF. So there's lots of things happening, and just keep a lookout. Support the events that are on the website as official fringe events, and they will be the best ones to attend. We can guarantee you that one. And we're really keen to be pushing these, and we will be working with people to say, look, if you're from the local community and enjoy and work in a built environment, but you've not got a ticket to UKREiiF, this is a good way for some SMEs to get involved as well in the evenings of making sure they're in Leeds for the period of UKREiiF to be benefiting from all the people that are there already. Pre-event engagement. So yeah, we're planning a lot more on this last year. So UKREiiF, I mentioned it earlier with the connections and facilitations that we're trying to do with local authorities into developers and investors. We want to be much more than an event. We want to make sure that we're having a positive impact on the industry, not just delivering an event that takes place for 3 days and then we end it and then we start it again and get everyone together every 3. We need activity 365 all the way around the year. And I think this year 3, is where we're starting to see us doing even more that we can do. So we've got a school outreach program that we're looking to implement, which could reach about 3,000-4,000 children from 14 to 18, looking at things going into their school, doing question time events with a wide range of people from the industry, whether that be marketing, whether that be contractors, law firms, whomever it might be, a real mix of people to show that the built environment isn't just building. We're also looking at some legacy assets, legacy videos that we could create. That's all alongside a head partnership that we're just trying to put everything together to see how that will all work. But hopefully inspiring with those videos another 15,000 or so children to be able to view what the industry does around sustainability and what jobs look like in their true form on a day-to-day. We've got site visits, we've got networking, there's loads planned through that. We then trying to go for that 18 plus market of next gen or early careers professionals. No, never mind what age early careers are, but particularly looking at graduates and university students in particular, of activating that market locally to say, right, you're graduating, here's a story of how you can get involved in UKREiiF on the fringe or whatever it might be. Here's some network training that we're going to roll out across a couple of different cities. So those people that are coming to UKREiiF and maybe are early into their career, or they're young professionals that are just graduating, we can give them a bit more of the information and skills that they need to make the most out of UKREiiF. So there's a lot going on around that. And we're doing the same for alongside young entrepreneurs in property, and hopefully alongside a couple of others like the junior lawyers division. We're going to also do activity that are aimed to those maybe 25 to 35 next gen or early careers professionals, again early careers. I know it can be any age, but trying to make sure that we're doing activity that's directed towards them. Network training might be something that they can already do, but actually maybe go into sort of more details in how to put them in the right places at the right time at UKREiiF to make sure they find the benefit. So lots happening there. That's all in addition to the other D&I stuff we did. So last year we created 2.25 million in social value. Hopefully this activity that we're doing behind it will have an even bigger impact if we're reaching circa 20,000 sort of high school students. 600,000 donated in gifted items. That's going to increase quite heavily because we've once again got a lot more D&I partnerships in the pipeline. And yeah, plenty raised for charity. And again, we're going to see that increase because we've got a lot more partnerships this year in the plans. And some of those charity ones look like the Club Peloton charity cycle. There's also, I should have included it, but I did these slides a few weeks ago, the Yorkshire Children's Charity UKREiiF, run by Hexa Consulting, is coming back as well. I think last year that generated about 30,000 for Yorkshire Children's Charity. Yeah, Club Peloton are going to be doing a run. Pagabo and the Feel Good Games, they do that on the Monday, kind of like an obstacle team course activity that they do, a bit like the Olympics. It's pretty cool. I'd have a look at it. And then I suppose the last message is just to keep an eye out for some of the regional launch events that we're doing. So we've got them planned at the moment in the likes of Glasgow, in Leicester. We've got a few down south, whether it be London. We're looking at places across the south coast like Cornwall and Brighton, etc. So keep an eye out for any of those. We're trying not to run them directly ourselves, but our partners are running them. So what we will do within those areas is give you a nudge via email to say which ones are coming up. And if you are wanting to support your region and hear what they're planning to do at UKREiiF, you can obviously head along. And happy days, that is it. So I suppose to keep it there, we wanted to kind of try to get across, and we'll be able to share this video afterwards, and I think you'll be able to rewatch it anyway. The key bit is that kind of just sharing the growth that's happening on site. So if we go back to the earlier slides, all of those green areas that are new pavilions or new space, we're trying to work with partners to make sure, as I say, that content is diversified a fair bit more this year. So we're doing a lot more events that are tailored within those areas, not just panels. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of stuff to get involved in. I think we're saying that the program needs to be with us by about March time. So you'll probably see from January onwards a lot more being added onto the website of what's going to be happening in UKREiiF in Leeds in 2024. Perfect. So apart from that, I think I'm done. I'm at a wrap. So half an hour, that was long, wasn't it? Sorry. Is there any questions before I turn it all off and put the stream to an end? I don't think we've got, so that's all good. So just going through it. So yeah, Jamie worked with working with Bradford. Hopefully Bradford, what we'll see is some sort of that culture coming through. They've got a city of culture in 2025, and what we're doing with working with West Yorkshire to see how can we make sure that kind of stuff is being showcased in the city or in the region at UKREiiF. So it gives a flavour of what Leeds and what West Yorkshire and the likes are all about from a cultural perspective. Derry, can we make sure the sun shines? Of course we can. It is booked for 2024. The sun the first year was about 40 degrees. So yeah, I'm hoping it's not anywhere like that. But last year was nice, 22, 23, nice and cool. It wasn't too bad. We haven't had a spot of rain yet, I don't think, at UKREiiF, so we're all good. But we have got the umbrellas, and we are looking at wet weather contingency, which nobody else will see because it's not rained, so we've not needed the wet weather contingency. But yes, we do work on that in the background for reference. Are there any opportunities for startups to be involved in UKREiiF? Yes, there are. It just depends on what you're looking to get involved in. So I think I alluded to at the beginning, there is a heavy discount in a prime location in the exhibition hall for startups. I think it's 2,750, which includes 2 tickets. So it's not really much more than buying a couple of tickets. That's in a prime location at the entrance point. But outside of that, it really depends on what you're interested in getting involved with. You just need to either drop us a line and say, yeah, I'm interested in speaking, or I'm interested in this or that, and we can have a quick look. Just depends really about the type of business you are, and what sort of things that you're interested in getting involved with. Are there plans to move the event to other cities? We have been on a bidding process, and I believe that the announcement will be made shortly, Stuart. So yes, bear with us on that one. But we have been to a few cities. We've had a look at what we're going to do from a future perspective, and I think it was really exciting for us to see how it could happen in other cities as well. As we've had the visits and whatnot, and the information is going to be shared very soon by the city where we have decided to be based for 2025 onwards, but obviously 2024 very much happening in the city of Leeds. Are the fees listed on the website for SME smaller stands? Yes, they are indeed, Lynn. So I think it's called the street stand on the website. So what we tried to do was make sure that all pricing is visible on the website, so that, you know, we're not going through, you know, we're not being dodgy and doing deals behind. It's very clear of what we're offering and what we feel the value is, which is why we put all of our costings on the website. I know similar competitors don't. You have to go through this whole long process of capturing your details and the like. But yeah, there is a street stand. I think the startup one is called for micro businesses. I think that we class that as pretty much startups. But yeah, drop us a line. Above that, it costs about 5,750 as a starting point for a standard exhibition stand with similar SMEs or large businesses. Are the startup stands the same as the micro stands you mentioned earlier? Slightly different. So the startup stand is a poster table, and you can put a couple of banners behind it, whereas the main exhibitors would be with proper structures within them. The reason we've done that is because it costs a lot of it can cost money to brand all of those areas up, and some businesses want to spend quite a lot of money on that branding element. But obviously from a startup perspective, it's probably best to try to keep the cost down. But what we've done is put them at the front of the Royal Armouries area, so the footfall is going to be seeing the startups before, and the micro businesses before they see some of the other bigger organisations, and that's kind of those things that we're trying to do to support SMEs or small startups as much as we can. The whole social value premise that we push quite frequently. Can you connect regions or local authorities to interested partners in advance in terms of event collaboration? Likely, yes. Depends who it is, but yes, we make connections all year round. That's what we're all about. So the reason I'm incredibly overdressed is because we have a dinner at the House of Commons tonight, which is regional leaders from across the UK, mayors, chief execs, leaders, heads of regen, and we're hosting an event, putting them in a room with investors and developers to make sure that we, again, that 365 platform. But we do some that are physical meetings that will put people together. In other cases, we'll just send emails and connect them. If we see value for the person on the other side, then there would be no reason why we wouldn't connect you. Particularly if it's around a new development, a new project coming forward. Really depends on what you're wanting to do. If you're just wanting to be put onto their framework, yeah, we probably wouldn't. But if you're looking at doing something alongside them in partnership, then yes, we would do introductions. Just let us know who you might be interested in meeting, and we can usually do that. Happy days. Any more questions, or are we at a wrap? I think we're at a wrap. That's good. Happy days. Right. If there's no more questions, I'm going to call it there and end the session. You can always watch it back, and if you've got any other questions or queries, just drop me a line directly into my inbox on LinkedIn. And as I said earlier, we will be doing these every maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but we're going to go into detail in different areas. So we will talk about different areas within the Royal Armouries and understanding the site for those that want to, understanding the city centre for fringe events and what's happening and when. So we're just trying to give delegates a lot more information this year on what they can do and how to make the best out of the event. So yeah, hopefully catch you on LinkedIn Live soon. Catch you later.